Good morning. I'm back with another episode of Divya's Discoveries, and I'm just wanting to share some reflections from my trip, some of the things that I learned and that really stuck with me from my 3.5 weeks in the US with my family. A number of people asked me, was it good? And the answer is always yes, because good is something that, it's a perspective that we take. Was it challenging for me? Yes, it was. And it was a huge learning experience, lots of expansion and stretching going on. There are two metaphors that kept coming up in my experience that felt really appropriate. And the first one was that of a seedling and the careful conditions that a seedling needs when it is first sprouting and taking roots. It needs a shelter and a lot more water, protection from the sun, that sort of thing. If it experiences harsh conditions, it just will die and it can't grow. And that to me speaks to the importance of the environment in early stages growth. And it reminded me of, the image of the iceberg, where there's often when we talk about the power of the unconscious mind, we use the metaphor of the iceberg. The conscious mind is just the very tip of the iceberg, and the rest of it's the unconscious. And the environment, it's the water that the iceberg is built out of. Where does that mass of ice come from but the water that's all around it? And I was immersed in the water that my unconscious iceberg was first formed in before I did all of this repatterning. And I became aware that as a seedling, I couldn't have had the growth that I've had in that context. I had to leave. I had to move away on the other side of the world for me to form into the kind of strong tree that I see myself as today. And I very much felt like I was in a hurricane while I was being there, just energetically, with all the energies around me. My family, I love them to bits. They're very strong energies, lots of chaos and hecticness and frenetic energy. And so I felt like, having had 3 years since I've seen them, right? 3 years to take root and become a strong, stable tree. And still I felt myself swaying all over the place in the wind. And so it was a lot of work for me to just stay steady and stay centered. It's funny, but I do feel like I worked harder in those 3 weeks on holidays than I do in my regular life. And it also reminded me of, if you've ever been swimming in a river where there's a bit of a current, sometimes it can go really, really quickly. Like think of a rapids gushing down, right? Like the river's flowing so fast, and in that experience, I felt myself in there, like just kind of doggy paddling, trying to stay afloat, gasping for air, just like just trying to stay afloat in that fast speeding water. And then, having moved away and having discovered the power that we have to create our own experience of life, basically having realized that we engineer the speed of that river, and having slowed my river right down. So it's like a steady, trickling stream, barely, almost like a pond. And that enables me to take strides and actually go somewhere when I do, rather than expend a lot of energy just kind of fighting the current. So, a big learning for me was around what it feels like to watch those around you struggling, right? For me to watch the people that I care about struggling and to support them and love them when they don't know that they can control the speed of their river. They haven't yet had that discovery or that aha, and remembering what it felt like for me when I didn't know that I had that capability. And it was humbling, and it was valuable. It was valuable. It's a very important trip for me to return. I think there's nothing like returning to a place where we once were to reveal to us our own growth. That being said, I also want to talk today about this concept of vicious cycles. When you feel like you might be spiraling down, deeper, or just in this endless loop. I had an experience about myself where physically my body was tired, and so it didn't have the strength to do the things that it normally does, even to the extent of get up and get a glass of water. Like, it was dehydrated, and then psychologically the effect that has, and that experience of being caught in that vicious cycle. So how do we break free of that cycle? For me, it came the tipping point where it was just like, I've had enough of this feeling off-centered, not like me. And you know what we say, right? When something isn't working, try anything else. And so if I don't have the energy to get up, do that anyway and drink 10 glasses of water and see. It's amazing. I think we take for granted how much the physical surroundings can affect us in different ways. I had an experience of my tongue being really swollen whilst I was away as well. And in a body talk session, it was revealed that was due to the incongruency of the environment around me. So our bodies are responding in various ways to show us what's going on for us. And so my invitation to you at the start of this week is take stock and of where you are. Look back, glance in the rearview mirror, metaphorically speaking, and take time to appreciate yourself, the growth. And if you find yourself caught in a cycle, do a pattern interrupt. Anything that's, if it's something that you don't feel like doing, call upon your deepest reserves to access the energy so you can do it anyway. See how you feel afterwards. Report back, let me know how you go.